Party people, we are back. This is episode number 3.
This is 3?
This is episode number 3 of
3 it
season
is,
2.
man. All right. You heard what he said.
Yeah.
We're back. Number 3, man.
Last time you said it was episode 17. I was like, oh, I get what you're counting all in total.
That was the total. That was the total time. We're on total time today. So what's going on? Welcome back to the Alpha Mentality Podcast. My name is Otis Bird, a.k.a. ODB, and this is Mr.
I'm going to make sure I don't say like a tax collector, Mr. Jeff Nadal.
Mr. Jeffrey Nadal signed right here. And I hope you guys can get a close look at this man's sneakers, man. I don't know if you can see it from the whole view, but I told you he on that Kobe time all the time, you know.
All the time.
Alpha mentality came from having an alpha mentality, and that conversation is a derivative from Kobe. So he's representing.
Always.
Real quick fun fact. Did you guys know that this guy used to be a sneakerhead?
Massive sneakerhead.
Yeah, not like a shoe like collector. Yeah. You know, if you got 10, 15 pair of sneakers, then that don't make you a sneakerhead. How many sneakers you had?
That's cute. I had over 120.
Damn.
Pairs, yeah.
Damn, man, he sold them.
I did.
He made a nice little chunk of change off of them too.
We're coming back though.
I see you. So what's happened since the last time we got together?
A lot has happened since the last time we got together, man. I mean, let's just talk personally. My daughter's a month old now.
She is 1 month old.
That to me is mind blowing because it felt like just yesterday she was born. We were just having that conversation. It felt like just yesterday I was telling you, yo, dude, we're pregnant.
It's so interesting, right? You know, you watch time just kind of speed up, especially when the birthing process of a child happens. And I think just kind of, you know, watching you guys right now, it puts me back in thought and memory of when we had our son and our daughter, man. So very unique times that we're in. And with that uniqueness, we've been getting some unique messages from you guys. So
yeah, always.
I thank you for the feedback, Jeff and I, from Instagram, YouTube. I mean, every single platform, you know. I think
my boy's even on TikTok now, guys.
I know, man. I'm about to start doing the Dougie. That's gonna be my dance move.
A lot of people don't know what the Dougie is, man.
Yeah, I know, man. I just aged myself. But if you don't know what the Dougie is, then you should know what the Dougie is. But all right, so today we're back for episode number 3, second season, and let me tell you something. Consistency is something that you will always get from us. And I don't know, why don't you fill us in, man? Some thoughts that we've been working through and some topics and things like that we're going to be discussing. I
mean, one of the topics, I think it comes more so from some of our agents that we talk to, some of our clients that kind of talk to us, you know, this hesitation in life, right? And you and me kind of talked amongst us like, okay, like where does this hesitation come from? Hey, well, this can be a kind of a topic. Like, so one of the things that we want to talk to you guys about is how can you live a life boldly, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if you're not thinking this way, there's something inside of you that's probably stopping you. So I think that's kind of the topic that we want to kind of dissect for you guys a little bit because it doesn't get talked about enough sometimes that, hey, you know, you're going to have the angels and the demons.
You absolutely are. I mean, there's always a crossroad. You know, my mentor tells me, he says, Otis, in the moments of difficulty is when your destiny is shaped. But that moment is normally a decision away from your life changing for the good or your life changing for the bad. And I think that leads into our topic today because we're going to be talking about some ways that you can master that what Jeff was talking about, like an angel and demon. By the way, have you ever been in a situation and you know, like there's a decision to be made?
Yeah.
There's man, I could do it this way. I'll give you guys an example. I play in a Sunday basketball league, and Jeff knows where I'm going.
Yep.
And there was this referee. He just started targeting me. I don't know. Maybe the guy just had a bad day.
Maybe he heard a podcast. He didn't like what you said on one of the podcasts.
I don't know. Maybe. But I know that the demon was in me. The devil was about to get activated because I wanted to lay hands on him in a non-spiritual way. If you know what I mean. But there was also this side of me that says that it wasn't worth it, you know, because it wasn't flying on my shoulder like a real angel. You guys know what I'm talking about. But I think today is going to be helping a lot of us make decisions, and a decision to master that inner critic, that inner angel, that inner demon, just kind of help you make the decision on which direction to go into when it is time to make a decision, you know? What if I told you, or what if Jeff told you that you're one decision away from the lifestyle that you want, one decision away from that next promotion at your job. I'm willing to bet that if you could find a way to clamp down on the right idea, chances are you'd be a whole hell of a lot further than where you wanted to be.
100%.
So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
So mastering your inner critic, right? Your angel, your demon. What are some things that we should be taking into consideration when discussing, mastering that voice that tells you go left or tells you to go right?
Exactly what you just said, that voice, that internal dialogue. We all have it,
yeah.
Right? We're always talking to ourselves. The moment you go quiet, guys, and I read this in a book, go quiet and just breathe. You're going to find yourself that you start talking to yourself inside your own mind. So that internal dialogue, you should really be paying attention to what it is that you are telling yourself, right? And let's use your basketball game, for example. Kind of said you want to lay hands, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that's a demon inside of you, right? That's one
ODB.
side. That's one side of you that's telling you, hey, this situation, we can handle it like this. So what was the internal dialogue that made you not go that route?
I've practiced self-restraint. I mean, you just had your first kid, and I have 2 kids, my oldest being 8. And, one thing about having kids is that it gives you an abundance of patience. But I'm also a businessman, and I know that people respond differently in different situations. So I'm prepared a little bit different because when I give myself a chance to listen to myself, like most people, they make a reaction just off of just straight instinct and straight gut.
Right.
And although that can be a good thing to do sometimes, is to just respond from your gut. Sometimes you have to weigh it. Like, what's the risk? What's the reward? Because if you become aware of that, the 2 voices that we're talking about, this in your head. So maybe there's you may be at your job, and instead of laying hands on this referee like I wanted to, maybe it's an opportunity for you to get mad, right? Because your boss treats you the wrong way. Or maybe you have a client and they may say the wrong thing to you, right? You can respond just like, you mofo, POS, whatever.
Yeah.
But instead of doing that, you really have to have a perspective of compassion so that it can give you clarity.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes 100% sense. I think for me, listening to your internal dialogue, you can take it in number of ways. And I think one of the things you mentioned earlier was when you really do start listening to the internal dialogue inside of you and really taking into account what it is it's telling you, that's when your life can change.
Oh, yeah.
It's just we fail to neglect what we actually think about a lot, and we think that, hey, these thoughts, they're not really helping me, they're hurting me. Well, they kind of are. They're going either one or 2 ways. I'll give you an example. When I had my little tumor in my toe in December of last year, all I did was sit around on the couch without doing anything for the entire day. All my mind did was just run through itself. All I did was think. And through there, listening to what my thoughts were telling me, I realized I was very dissatisfied with life. And if I would have never listened to it, right? If I would have just kind of ignored him, like, nah, I'm just bored here, I probably would have never made the change and we wouldn't be sitting here talking today.
That's so true.
So it's just, kind of like you said, right? I weighed the pros and cons. Okay, well, hey, I'm dissatisfied. That means something has to change. Where does that change start? Does it mean a career change? Does it mean, a wife change? Does it mean, I didn't know what I had to change. My wife's over there, by the way, guys, but she didn't catch that one. Some change had to happen. And in listening and really going with the gut feeling, like you kind of mentioned, a decision was made. And man, thank God I made that decision. So,
man, I'm so glad you did. I mean, just think, just a year and, a couple months, your life really changed because you made a decision.
Right.
Like, for anybody that's listening to this right now, going back to that statement of in moments of difficulty is when your destiny is shaped. Lessons, they happen like a merry-go-round.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be a long time in that, merry-go-round where a lesson's trying to knock you upside the head. I'll give you an example. I always knew I was supposed to be an entrepreneur. Like, not in the sense of it's a fancy word, but I always know because I've just had this burning desire, 1, but 2, I've had a strong personality that's kind of hard to manage as a supervisor, right? Yeah. And you may be listening to this right now saying, man, that sounds like me. Well, here's the lesson in that, is that I would always have like these opportunities from childhood. I would, being from Chicago, it snows in the winter, right? And in the winter months, that was an opportunity to make money because I would go shovel the snow.
Nice.
And in the summertime, I would, sometimes mow some yards if my allergies wasn't acting up. But I started to notice that a little bit later on in life. My mom family started a beauty salon, and that opportunity came. And I remember getting ready to create something later on in life, a website for healthcare professionals, and that allowed me to now understand like that past. It's so relevant for my current right now, but also my future, because I started to recognize the perspective. In fact, I think what I started to do, I started to give a definition to things, right? Because another point we were discussing before this was positive reframing, because how many times have you tried something in the past? Like,
all the time.
Closely, like business wise, like kids may listen to this and they may say, well, I tried to open up a lemonade stand when I was younger, right? But it just never worked. But ask yourself, can you reframe that to be less critical, to gain more clarity? So, like, what would happen if you didn't quit?
Yeah. I mean, I want you to just take the example that you gave everyone right now. Maybe it could be the smallest one, but you said you grew up Chicago. It snows in the winter. Most people hate the winter in Chicago. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. You realize that you positively reframed that for yourself, because you may have hated the snow, but you found a way to make money off that.
Oh, that's a good point.
So you turn something that most people say, hey man, time to make some money like this. That many people can do that, man, but they just choose to stick in the negative without listening to internal dialogue and see, hey, how can I flip this positively for myself?
Man, woe is me. It's cold outside. It's a really good thought. I mean, you even just gave me some dialogue on that as well, too, because I think that some things are meant to test you.
Yeah.
You're listening to this right now, and you're going through a tough time. So you may have a time in your relationship that is meant to build you. I've been married. I've been with my wife for 16 years. I know I don't look old enough to be in a relationship that long, but there's been trying times being in a relationship. But now that I know that some of the things that in the moment that were looked at or meant for bad, they're actually, when I look back, they were generally used for good.
Yeah.
Because we made a decision in that moment to persevere, kind of get through it. But now we can look back, and now it gives us this level of courage.
Yeah.
We know things that look tough, they're really not that tough anymore. So listening to that inner critic and mastering is going to take a couple of these, I don't want to call them steps, but just maybe different perspectives. What else would you say is something to keep in mind when you're trying to master your inner thought, or that angel and that demon, kind of knowing, hey, should I go left on this one? Should I punch the ref, or should I shake his hand?
I mean, I think what most people have to kind of realize when they're going through the boats, like you said, you mentioned, weigh the pros and cons, but at the same time, let's say, for example, there is an opportunity for you, or there's something that you want to do, but you may not feel like you're too scared of what's going to happen. You're going to be in the same position anyways if you don't do it.
Oh my God.
So it's kind of like you might as well go through with it, because then what you realize when you start looking back on stuff, right? You start realizing, hey, that problem that I had, that issue that I had, it helped me grow. It helped me change. And you start realizing, like, okay, I can beat all these bad issues. I can beat all these bad problems. So it's like, if you don't give yourself the chance, if you don't practice, some self-compassion for yourself, you're going to be stuck in the same spot. So give yourself some grace. Like, hey, you're all learning. You always tell me this. Every master was once a disaster. We tell this to all our agents all the time, because they're looking at the journey. They're not looking at the step right in front of them.
Oh,
just take that first step. Take the first step, then to the next one. You can't see the road down the road. Just
write that down. I don't know, when you were talking, I just had this epiphany of this movie called Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. You seen it before? Kind of, you probably know like old. The idea of it.
Yeah.
Like he was living the same day over and over and over, and just like him living the same day to get to that one thing. I think most of us are in the same exact hypnotic rhythm. And as I was mentioning, okay, for the good, I noticed that I was supposed to be on this entrepreneurial path at some point. I know my mom used to call me lazy, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, she's probably listening to this right now. But I think, Mom, what you may agree with or disagree with is that I just found ways to do things better without going the manual route. So in these moments where I was kind of going through things, I started to realize that, hey, I'm meant to do something. Maybe I don't, I got an older brother and my dad, they're like, like hands-on guys, I got soft hands, right? I belong in an office in a nice, cool condition.
Man, that makes me laugh so hard. 'Cause you know how many of my friends would tell me, "Hey, man, you need to learn how to do something." Why? I could just pay someone to do that. Like,
Mom, come on, Mom, you listening to this? That's what I would say, and she knows that about me now.
Yeah.
Like, I just ordered I'm gonna give myself. I just ordered a bidet, and you can go on YouTube and figure that thing out for like 15 minutes. But I was like, yeah, I'll just get a handyman to do this.
Yeah.
But again, in these moments of difficulty, okay, you know the rest, fill in the blank. Let me give you something that you should be practicing. Self-compassion, okay? Be supportive, gentle, and understanding towards your inner critic. It's there to convict you for a reason, right? By practicing self-compassion, what it's going to do is that it's going to help you reduce stress over time. It's going to promote resilience in your life. It's going to make you more capable when those challenges, when they do arise. I just know from going through situations, and hopefully people that are listening right now, they can say, damn it, dude, I know that one situation that keeps coming up. Love yourself first, right? Give yourself some what we call grace, right? Give yourself grace. Give yourself the opportunity to learn from that, right?
Yeah.
I've gained so much clarity, more from things that happened to me negatively, and I can turn that negative into a positive, right?
I want to kind of touch on that right there. One of the things that we tell, all our agents is F it up fast, right? F it up. Why? Why do we say that? Because from you messing up, you're going to learn. If you do everything right, you never learn the lesson. So for all you agents that are actually listening to this, just go F it up fast. Who cares? You will learn more from that mistake. We promise you.
Guaranteed most of success, if in any form, shape, fashion, is always going to come from failure.
Yeah.
The people who fail the most, they make the most of life. They create the most inventions that are most innovative. They make, a higher income, right? Solving problems pays the most.
Yeah. 100%.
It really does. It absolutely does, right? In fact, I think another thing that needs to be said about this mastering this inner critic is rejecting your BS. Now watch this. Some of y'all listening right now and you like, BS, man, I thought this was a PG podcast. Well, it is, but it ain't. But it is because you think BS in, cow dung, that type of way. But when I say BS, rejecting your BS for us is your limiting belief systems.
Yep.
Okay, so like, how do you approach things, right? If you recognize any belief that's holding you back from reaching your goals, consciously reject it. So like, what's something maybe that you've worked through in the past where you found like it didn't work for you? Or you, like what you said, maybe sitting down with this tumor in your toe, like your belief systems that you had at that time to make you not want to move forward and do things, that could have, put you in a position. Like, what are some things that you replaced with your belief system to make it more positive versus have a negative connotation?
Having a scarcity mindset versus an abundant mindset. When I was a teacher and I was sitting there with the tumor in my toe, one of the reasons why, and I think this goes for anyone that's considering leaving their job, because they're tired of it. They want more. We just talked to someone right now that's so tired of their job, right? And it's that limiting belief that like, well, if I don't have this job, I can't really do anything else. Well, you can. It's just how hard are you going to want to work toward it? Now, no one's saying go quit your job tomorrow and go do something completely new. If you want to, good for you. But you have to realize that if you never try, you'll never know, right? And most people are not willing to start all over. Right now, there's so many layoffs. Absolutely so many layoffs. Me and Otis sit down on interviews every day, all day. Okay. A lot of them are coming from, I'll just give you an example, the mortgage profession, right? And some of these mortgage professionals, they've been in this industry for 15, 20, 30 years. And then when you ask them like, hey, what did you love about it? Hey, I loved helping people. Awesome. Fired up for you that you have a good soul, Now, are you willing to transfer that skill set into something else? No, they want to stay in mortgages. Why? Because it's safe. There's an inner critic inside them telling them like, hey, this is what you were meant to do. You can no longer do anything else because they think their age is a problem. They think they're not going to be good at it. Well, that limiting belief right there, you are screwed. You need to reject them. Hey, you can do whatever you want. How is it that I go from a teacher to a financial professional in a year? Well, because I didn't listen to all the limiting beliefs that were inside my head. And granted, there were a lot of them.
Absolutely.
There were a lot of them like, hey, man, is this really going to work out for me? But you know what? Trust myself. and sky's the limit from there.
I want to kind of piggyback on what you just said. Can you elaborate on this? Most people, they see themselves how other people see them.
Yeah.
So the moves that they make are based on the consensus on how people project their limitations onto you.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that when somebody's listening to this right now? Obviously, a single mom, maybe she wants bigger and better. That hardworking man or young guy who's ready to work on a project or do something to just elevate their lifestyle or just help out a ton of people. But the surrounding that they're around keeps them limited to like their proximity circle. How do you get them to understand that they need to change their BS belief system? How do you get them to change that belief system? And how do you get them to take action?
You gotta look at their environment. That environment can either hurt you or screw you. And I think that was one of the things that helped me initially was my environment around me was keeping me limited. Yeah. The certain friends, the certain family members that would tell me, hey, you got to really, you have it safe. Like, why are you going to ruin that when I was considering leaving the job? And stuff like that can really limit you. So I think you need to get out of that environment. But you have to start keeping promises to yourself, because when you start keeping promises to yourself, your own self-confidence will go up. And when your own self-confidence goes up, you really stop caring what other people are saying. And if you can just take one small win every single day, man, after that, it's just kind of like they just start compounding like everything else. And you really get out of that comfort zone. You get out of that environment that you're in. You start ignoring everyone else, because then you start zooming out. And if you can zoom out and you look at everyone else, like everyone else is doing the exact same thing, is this how you want your life to look? If the advice you're taking from that surrounding person is not the life you want, don't take that advice. Right? And I think that right there is one of the hardest things to try to help someone, because their proximity circle, it's terrible. So,
man, can the church get an amen? That's so good, because as you were speaking, I started thinking about some of the things that will limit us. I'll give you guys an example. I noticed, like most people, around the holidays, we get a little round around the midsection and stuff like that. What's the line we use? What's it? Waist
less
line?
on your waist, less on your plate, less on your waist.
Less on your plate, less on your waist. But holidays, man, that always takes me out. But anywho, in any matter, I started to notice that this process of me eating heavy around the holidays, it always puts me in this state where I can lose the weight, and I'm pretty good about that. But there's like a big man, and then there's a little man in me, right? And the little man has a louder voice sometimes. So some of us, what we do is that we listen to this small thing. So you may be getting ready to work out or something, and you guys can relate with this. You'll give yourself an excuse. My wife just left out of town. She and normally we go to church on Sundays, but this little voice was like, yeah, Otis, you should just sit at home with the kids today. Like, you're fine. Like, you can chill. You can sit this one out. And as I'm approaching this new year, yeah, Otis, you're going to be able to lose this weight. But here's where the big voice came in, who has a smaller, like, project voice in my mind. Is I turned down the little man and I turned up the big man. The big man is the version of me who I want to become. And here's where I had to give myself some self-love. I said, Otis, I need to take control of my health, right? I need to reframe my mind and start thinking about this different, because if I do the same thing, I'm going to get the same results. So here's what I started doing. I started putting some new definition to it. So now I'm staying accountable with our audience now. I'm on this journey to get abs.
There you go.
Right? I'm on this journey to get abs, right? So I'm watching what I eat, right? Garbage in, garbage out. I'm watching what I eat. I work out, right? I'm on my exercise for my abs and stuff. I'm down 11 pounds, by the way, 11 or 12 pounds. I got on the scale this morning. It was 199. I was fired up about that, right? But why am I giving you guys this story? It's because if you don't master the voices that are in your head, here's the problem. You start listening to everything that comes in. You have to be the loudest voice in your head. So when it's time to say, nah, I'm going to chill, you need to find a time to get on the accelerator. You need to go harder, right? I've never had abs, okay? So let me just tell you that. I've never had abs, never.
Same.
Okay? I've had like, a keg, but I never had abs, right? And I'm just saying, you know what? I got to change this, right? So I started acknowledging that I can do things different, right? I also started giving myself more love and more compassion. And I started thinking about how I was limited on, yeah, okay, I know I can lose the weight, but how do I get past this? How do I go to the next level? And that leads and lands at the last place, which is you just got to learn what we just talked about and you got to take action.
You really do.
You really do have to take action. So I get fired up about these conversations. I feel like I need to calm down because I'm about to get sweaty over here and start
Hey,
preaching.
but this is what you guys put in the comments, man. You guys always send us, hey, Otis always gets so fired up. I was like, yeah, well, it's like, what's wrong with those eyebrows? Like, yeah, man, he loves what he does, man.
They just stay up, man. My eyebrows are like antennas, right? So this is just a conversation that we just wanted to have with you. And by the way, every conversation is produced. It comes from Jeff and I, and we're having these discussions on how we've dealt with situations in the past. Sure, we get ideas sometimes from, maybe other entrepreneurs, but most of this is real life. We're kind of in the thick of it, or we've been through it, or we just, I don't know, maybe we're having a real life discussion with somebody. So if that somebody's listening to this, you know who you are.
Hey, biggest word of advice right now that we can tell you, take action.
That's it.
Like, listen to the voice and start taking some action and change your life.
Yeah. So if you guys felt this message today, pew, 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 we didn't mean to miss, by the way. This is called intentional hitting, right? This is called targeting. And we just like your feedback. We thank you guys for subscribing to our conversations and being able to allow us to be a platform that can bring this conversations, maybe the ones that you want to have, but you don't know how to have. And we just ask that you guys comment, subscribe. I'm sure there's a box
somewhere gonna pop up.
Something, right? However they do it on these things, right? Bing, right? But we really want you guys' feedback and, to share this message. I think there's not a lot of people who can have this type of dialogue, right? So I'll turn it back to you, partner, and you go ahead and land the plane for us.
Guys, as always, it's a pleasure. Make sure you stay tuned for episode 4, dropping next week. It's sure to be a good one. Until then, love, peace.